Hello,
and welcome
to the Delusional Boyfriend Book Club,
where if mixing your ashes with your lovers is wrong,
I don't want to be right.
My name's Courtney.
I'm Phoebe.
I'm Brooke.
And today we're talking about The Song of Achilles, which is our romance novel of the month. If you guys haven't already, rate, review, and subscribe. If you're on a podcast app, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review and show it to a friend. And with that being said, we're going to jump right in. This is my book that I picked for book club this month. Every month we alternate. And it's no surprise that I picked like an MMBL book. And I was really happy with this read. Just like first impressions, how did you guys feel?
I liked it.
You liked it?
I really wanted to like it.
And I loved it. I'm not really surprised by any of those reactions just because this is like so within my genre. And I feel like if there's more, even more fantasy elements, it would be more into your genre. If there was, because we got like a centaur and a sea wraith and that kind of stuff, but it wasn't quite as immersive in the fantasy world. And I know that like most of your favorites have that like real magic and lore in there.
Yeah, I like both.
And Brookie,
and if it was less fan, I would have loved it.
This is a modern romance tale. This would have been right up Brookie's alley. So this is super fun read. Our author is going to be Madeline Miller, and this is her first book, and it was published in 2011. She has a classicals degree, so she speaks Latin and Greek, and obviously has read all of the classics such as the Iliad and the Odyssey. And this is very much informed by that, but I was surprised that all of the normal like Achilles lore were not involved. So we definitely go off script. And when I read the end of the book, she said that the stories about Achilles having an Achilles heel and being dipped into the river and having his heel be his weakness were actually added later on after the Iliad was written, or those stories had been kind of canonized. So it was interesting to me that wasn't really a part of this, and also there was like no Trojan horse, and I was waiting for the Trojan horse.
I mean,
they
mentioned it.
Yeah, but it's not.
But it's not a part of the story because it's not important to the plot of this book and specifically.
The plot of this book is very much so a romance.
Yeah, like the whole story is just about them.
Yes.
And then the things that are happening in Greece or in Troy or whatever while it's happening are just what's happening to the characters. It's not really about that.
It's what propels them into their own future. It's not exactly about hashing that all out. So with that being said,
more about how that's affecting them and less about how they're affecting the war.
Yes. If none of that was happening, their lives would have been totally normal and they could have just had a happily ever after. But because of the reality around them, things go in a different direction. And our tropes are going to be, I would say, slow burn, because we have a few years at the beginning of them knowing each other where nothing's kind of happening. I would say friends to lovers.
For sure.
I would say we've got a fantasy element here.
Yeah, because it's Greek mythology.
Yeah, Greek mythology. So is mythology the same as fantasy?
I feel like Greek mythology is like its own thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of fantasy is based off of mythology. Like, did you notice? I'm like, oh, the Mycenaeans, here they are, which is in Throne of Glass. Yes. And, like, there's so much Sarah J. Maas, because she uses so much mythology in her books. And everything. So that was, like, little Easter eggs. I was like, oh, of things, because obviously there's things that I already know. But there were some that I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that was from this lore and this, like, classic tale.
For sure.
That was, like, inspiring for certain characters in her books, which was, like, I really liked that part.
So I would say it's, like, some magic realism, but also very much a historical read. So this is setting you back in a time period. And I would also say it's pretty much green flag romance. These two love each other through and through. There's a lot of drama and angst in here as tropes, but they do not hurt each other, at least never on purpose. So green flag romance leads here. Any other tropes you guys can think of?
A little bit forbidden, I guess.
Oh, forbidden love. Absolutely, because of his mom. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and just because they're like, you can have male lovers, but that's not the person you're with, and you have a wife, and they're not interested in that, really.
Yes, and it makes you're less honorable if people think another man has ever conquered you. So it's definitely that forbidden romance, maybe even like, what's the word? Homophobia. There's a little
don't know what word you're looking for right now. Which I didn't think it was going to be homophobia.
Well, yeah, there's I was going to say internalized homophobia, but it's not really internalized. It's just this idea that they can be what they want inside their tent. They cannot so much be what they want out in public on the battlefield. That has to be toned down a lot. So all of that going on, and I'm going to kind of just break this story down, beginning, middle, and end. So in the beginning, we meet our main character, who is not Achilles. It's Patroclus. And in my head, I always thought it was...
That got me sure. Well, just in general, I thought it was going to be from
his point of view.
Yeah.
Me too. I absolutely thought that. And I'd never heard of Patroclus ever. Patroclus. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. That's not how they say it in the audiobook, but I also can't tell you how they say it.
I think it was Patroclus. I just listened to it today.
Patroclus.
Yeah.
It's Patroclus.
Except the last part was there was one more syllable than you're getting it. Yeah.
But in my head, I always want to see Achilles and Patroclus.
That's definitely not it.
So, all of my horrible pronunciations aside, our main character is going to be Patroclus, and he is the son of a king, so he's a prince in his own right, and he's weak. His mother is a little bit slow, and he's already looked down upon by his dad for a long time. He ends up being in a really important place in history where Helen of Troy is made to pick her husband.
Yeah. So before she's Helen of Troy.
Before she's Helen of Troy, she picks somebody to marry, which was
in Greece.
So she marries Menelaus, and then 10 years go by before we ever see or hear about her again.
But also that part of history, they all make an agreement that she gets to choose her own suitor because there's all these men there. And that is unheard of in the culture. The women have no say ever. So she gets to pick who she wants to marry, and everybody makes a vow that they will protect her if it comes down to it. And that's the whole reason that all of this stuff happens with the war and why all of these major people are fighting in this war, because they all made this vow to protect Helen when they all were trying to marry her, basically.
Yep. So she makes her choice, and then we see this young boy, Patroclus.
He's 9 at the time.
9, and he ends up getting a pair of dice from some guards who brought him there, and he really loves these dice.
He sees Achilles at this.
Yeah.
And he notices him, but they don't interact.
They don't interact other than he sees him running a race, and Patroclus' own father says that's what a real son is. He's going to be a real man. He'll be the best fighter in all of the land, and what can you do? You're just stupid. So a little whiles later, he's playing with his dice, and a boy comes to pick on him, even though he's the prince, and steal his dice away, and instead of letting him get away with it, he pushes him down, he cracks his head on a rock, and he kills him. Mm-hmm. And this is the last time he ever wants to kill a boy. He didn't mean to do it. He knows he doesn't want to be a warrior, and now he's either to be put to death or exiled. And when he's exiled, he gets exiled to Achilles' land.
Yeah, his father takes him in, and it turns out his father takes in a lot of boys
in order for them to become soldiers. So he starts training, he has horrible nightmares, and at one point the other boys start to pick on him so much that he misses practice, and Achilles finds him and says, "You're going to get punished if you keep skipping practice. They're looking for you." And he said, "Just tell them I was with you, and it won't be a lie if we actually do start hanging out." So they start hanging out, and I just love this little meet cute where he finds him kind of cowering alone, hiding from everybody else, and he's like, I'll do that. I won't lie to anybody, but you and I can start hanging out. And that I thought was really cute, right?
It's cute.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was adorable. So they start to hang out. They do music lessons together. He can't do any fighting lessons with Achilles because Achilles is made to fight and practice fighting alone, which is really interesting. He's been told that he's going to be the greatest in all of Greek and that he'll be a hero one day. So there's really no one to match him in fighting.
And they don't want anybody to see his fighting style and be able to assess to be able to fight him better.
Exactly. And so when he is allowed to hang out with him is at nighttime, where he sleeps in his bedroom and he helps him with his juggling, and they become closer and closer. History would say they were roommates, but I would say they were roommates. But at the time that you're tunicless in a bed with somebody and they're constantly grabbing your feet and touching on you, and when his dad comes in to tell them legends, they're always just kind of playing footsie with each other. Yeah. So the romance is building and building until one day they have a kiss on the beach, and Achilles' mother is a sea wraith.
She's a goddess.
Yeah, she's a goddess.
She's a goddess.
She's a goddess, but
of the sea.
Of the sea. And I think they use the word a sea nymph or a sea wraith, one or the other, to describe what.
I think they describe her as wraith-like, but
Maybe.
she's not a wraith. It's like a different thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
She's a goddess.
Yeah.
So she's a goddess. And the nice thing is, in the back of the book, if you have the actual book, it goes through everybody. That's
so on Kindle,
so
they're
nice.
Underlined, and then you can click on it, and then it'll show you this.
Oh, that's cool. I listened to the audiobook, not a feature.
I listened to the audiobook too, but then I always kind of switch back and forth, and that was when I discovered that.
And so her name is Thetis, and she is a shape-shifting sea nymph.
Oh, okay.
But she is a goddess.
Yeah.
But they talk about her as a goddess.
She is.
Yeah.
She's definitely
because
a goddess.
he's a demigod.
Yeah.
Because she's a goddess, but his father is mortal.
Mm-hmm. And she thinks she can make Achilles a real god and immortal if she can, appease the other gods enough and make him work hard enough and be legendary enough. So when she sees him on the beach kissing this mortal boy who is an exile and basically a slave and a nobody. She
hates him.
She hates it so much, and she banishes him. And Achilles leaves the room that they've been sleeping in the early morning, and Patroclus decides he's going to run after them. And this is like kind of my favorite chunk of the book. This is what I would call the middle of the book.
When they're with the centaur?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the best part.
Yeah, so, I agree 100%.
This is the best part. It was so cute, and it was the most fantasy filled.
Well,
and
sorry. I was just going to say, actually, it might be my side. Actually, I have a different favorite part that I just thought of.
Okay. You don't have to trade it. Okay. So this part, when Achilles is off to go train with the same person who trained Hercules and Jason and all these other people I haven't really heard of, he goes into
Jason?
there's a hero named Jason. And I was like...
Just Jason? Like a white guy name?
That's what I thought. I was is there really a hero named Jason? So he goes out into the forest and he's running after Achilles, and he goes as far as he can go, and he basically almost collapses with fatigue when Achilles jumps on him and says, I've been waiting in the forest for you this whole time. I knew you would come for me. And then a centaur comes and picks them up and says, you're late for your lessons, Achilles. Who is this boy? He says, this is my best friend. I want him to be here. You have to, he's my sworn brother. What do they have a name
It's
for
a certain name. I don't remember.
Basically indicates that every warrior gets to have another man who's his companion to keep him safe and entertained and not lonely. And I think this is mostly reserved for nobility, and because Achilles is a prince and a warrior, it would make a lot of sense for him to be allowed to have someone like this. But his mother has already basically condemned this relationship.
Yeah, she just really
hates Patroclus. So Chiron, our centaur, is so cutie. This is my first, at this point in the story, my first delusional boyfriend. I was like,
I don't know if you noticed, but I gasped at one point, and it was because when we were getting into this part of the story, I was like, wait! I have a new
Yeah, no.
I changed my mind.
I'm still like kind of on the fence about Chiron being my delusional boyfriend because he is so fucking hot. I just need to know, does he have a penis and then a horse at the back, or is it just
Did
a
you see
horse
that video?
penis?
No, it's just a video of a girl talking about centaurs, but it's so funny.
Can anyone
She's
tell
like,
me?
I just don't get centaurs. What's going on there?
What is going on?
She's like,
there?
I mean, like, yeah, BoJack Horseman, he's horse on top, but he walks like a human. What's happening with centaurs? It's so funny. And I sent it to your delusional boyfriend.
Clear,
you gotta look at it.
Me too.
To be clear, a centaur has 4 horse legs and 2 human arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like it's where the neck would be of a horse.
Yeah, that turns into the waist is where like the shoulders of the horse would be, you know, where the neck starts.
Where the neck would start,
That's where the human starts.
So where would the
it's
penis
waist
be?
up?
The
Does
penis
he
would probably be where
horse
normal
cock?
horses
It's a
be.
horse cock.
See, that's too bad for me. I was really kind of hoping it went left, that there's no hair or anything to cover it, so just be dick.
It would just be dick front,
belly button, then dick and balls in the front,
and then horse. That would be horrible.
But at least then, if he was my boyfriend, I wouldn't
It would
have
be
to
so
have
much
the
uglier.
horse
You
cock.
love giant cock.
I know,
the horse
but
cock.
I don't like the way those ones look.
But how would
and
you,
it feels
how would you-
bestial.
You would die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but like also,
like what? You're
even if
supposed
you
to
wouldn't,
hold
but
on.
like
them?
how would you accomplish this?
My friend in college, she'd always she's from Enumclaw, Washington, and she's like, yeah, I'm from Enumclaw, Washington. You'd be like, where is that? And she's like, it's the place where that guy tried to get a horse to fuck him, and then he died. That was like her story about Enumclaw,
I do remember
Washington.
that.
I don't, and I'm gonna have to look that up.
When we say how would you do it, I don't necessarily. Obviously, the size is not compatible, but just in general, how would you have sex?
Yeah, like are you barrel kicking from underneath, or are you just downward
like,
dog
there?
it and hoping? Either way, grosses me out.
Or are you laying down and his first set of hooves are above you, and the human is even more above.
Yeah, but also,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I know. I can see what you're saying, but it still wouldn't work because
like on a wall, like his on the wall, and then his human form's just up there. It doesn't matter, and then you're underneath by the bottom hooves. You know?
Jesus Christ. Well, just because in the book it specifically talks like when they ride him, and they're like, he's so tall, like it's way taller than riding a horse. So I'm like, just thinking like, how would you even because he's so tall and you're so human.
See, I want it to be like a mermaid, so the merman would have the tail, and then he would have his belly button and a penis above the tail.
Who told you that's what mermaids
No,
are
that's
like?
in my head. That's how I want it. And same thing with the centaur.
No,
because
I don't want the mermaids like that. No, I want the mermaids like that.
How do you want the mermaid penis to come?
The waistline, you know, like the waistline like
you
this.
want it to split
it
open
just
like
actually
a vagina.
opens. Yeah. It's like a pocket.
It's like a pocket, and then it pulls
So it's
out
more
the penis.
aesthetically pleasing,
No.
but you can still have
Okay,
sex.
so for the centaur...
But how do you have underwater sex, like, when
Without
you're both
getting a
underwater?
U-section?
It's the real question,
and if
ladies
you're
and gents.
also a mermaid, where does it go?
Well,
Your
unless
pocket's
the
open.
guy has a pocket, the
She
girl's
has
got
a
a pocket.
They both got little slits, and one of them, something produces out of it, and the other one does not. And also, I would like to say we've solved the mystery of the centaur, because the centaur is man on top, it goes belly button, pocket, horse body. And honestly, he still has the horse dick at the back. That's just for peeing, which is wonderful.
That's
because,
just for having sex with other horses.
Yeah, other horses and peeing. I do like it. Okay, we've solved the anatomy crisis.
You're welcome,
of the centaur.
everyone. We've all been wondering how
I'm just
centaurs
really happy
work.
because I thought I wasn't going to be able to like really contribute at all, and I actually feel like I've been able to be a part of this
No,
conversation.
you're always here for the monster dick conversation. You really light up when we get to that part.
That's crazy to say because you're the one that was like,
I love it.
I would fuck the shit out of an alien.
See,
I would.
Brooke's not the monster
But you got in
fucker.
on the
She
nod.
just
draw the line
You
at fucking
Or
tar.
only if it's so bestial. Yeah, no. You know what I mean? Like, at least with the alien, it was, like, weird and different. If
it's still in a humanoid form. This
Yes.
one's straight up an alien.
I
That's
think
like
it's
horse.
crazy that you could. Yeah, I can see it. I was gonna say I think it's crazy that you could possibly say that one is better than the other, but then when Phoebe put it like that, I can actually
Yeah, because they're humanoids still.
Yeah.
And
get it,
also,
I get
I'll
it.
say this. The Bad Dragon dildos, they have one that is...
Do not cut that
Please
out.
don't cut it.
Please
don't
finish
cut
what
it.
you were saying about the dragon dildo.
Bad Dragon, the company, has the monster cocks, and they make one which is a werewolf dick with a knot on it, and it looks like...
Did you buy it yet?
No, I did. I won't buy it because it looks too much like a red rocket on a dog.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
And
my
that
nightmare. I
grosses
hate
me
that.
out.
I really hate
And
that.
if they made a horse one, I feel like it's similar shape, but the tentacles, I'm fine with. And also, there's even like an alien one that has like it deposits eggs. It like shoots eggs out.
What do you
I
mean?
Look it up.
What?
Look it
No,
up.
I don't want
What's
to. I
it
want you to
shooting
explain
into you?
it.
What do you mean?
They're eggs. They're like little
eggs.
They're not small
do they
eggs.
come
They're like
out?
yes, and it's like
Wait, I'm sorry. They're
Are
not
they
small?
attached? Then?
they're not that small. They're like the size
Are
of a
they-
egg.
So like
Or
it comes
they
out when you take
detached?
out?
No,
Or they
they're
just
not
like go into your body.
attached. They just
that
go into
can't
your body.
be safe.
It's safe because you're not putting it in your butthole, so it's fine. Anything in your
That's
vagina
simply
can't
not
get
true.
low.
It's like
no,
it's like
true.
those weighted balls they use in
Yes,
50
Kegels.
Shades of Grey.
It's like Kegel balls. It's just like that.
Yeah, but
Yes, and
things
the thing
can get
is,
lodged up there. Have you ever seen the show 1,000 Ways to Die?
what did she lodge up there?
Carrot, and she
Carrot.
died.
That has to be because of bacterial.
Why do you know that? Have you ever
It's
seen 1,000 Ways to Die? Carrot.
Carrot. No, that had to have been like bacterial related. But these ones are just like silicone eggs. And I will say I've never bought it, but I keep thinking of it.
I thought you said you owned it already.
No, I said I would buy
I would
that
actually
over
really
a
appreciate
horse
it if
one.
for science you could
I will buy it. I will buy it. And also, you can like.
What at what velocity is it shooting eggs into you?
I think it's like a hand pump. And
So many questions that I
Oh,
do
I'm
need you
crying,
to buy
guys,
it
I'm crying.
just
Guys,
for science.
this
It's
is
really important.
the issue with you vanilla girlies.
I'm not vanilla. I just don't buy dildos that shoot things into me.
I will tell
I'm sorry, I didn't even know they were making dildos that were shooting eggs into people.
There is a whole
That's
kink.
crazy.
There's a whole kink called ovoposition. It's
Is
about
that-
laying eggs. It's a kink about having eggs put up in you and laying eggs. And if you read AO3 or any of the crazy shit I read, once in a while it comes up.
Here's
I was
the
gonna
thing,
say, I
I'm
feel
not,
like-
I'm not
I
saying
feel
I
like a
don't believe you,
trope
and I'm also not
happens.
judging those people.
No.
I'm just saying you can't call us vanilla for
Because you don't know
not.
about the egg thing.
Yeah.
knowing about the egg laying dildo.
Yes.
I feel like the egg kink isn't the weirdest kink,
No, I
guys.
didn't say it was. We
There's
just didn't-
weirder.
But we're not
No, but-
vanilla for not ever having heard of it.
You're right. You're like caramel. You're like
you-
caramel, and I'm
Girl-
like habanero ice cream.
Girl, you've only heard about it because you read about it in a book and then you did extensive research because that's who you are as a person.
It's a tag on AO3. If you click it, 1,000 stories with the avos come up. And
so
also,
you clicked it.
One of the ones that I'm reading this year is a snake. It's called The Sacred Serpent Seduction. And it's a human who turns into a snake. And I think that one has eggs in it. Also, I'm going to have a hard time because on book club, we are reading Bride. And I'm pretty sure that's a knotted werewolf penis.
In this book club?
Yeah.
Which one? What month is that?
I think that's Halloween.
October. I think.
Okay. In this book club.
In this book club right here.
Is that when that just came out?
No.
Oh no, that's the Bride. That's the Bride of Frankenstein, but it's called The Bride. You're right.
Okay.
This one's called Bride.
By Allie Hazelwood.
And then she has a second book after that called
Allie Hazelwood.
Called like Knotted Dick.
It's definitely not called that.
Okay. So we have a centaur, and the centaur picks up our two main characters, and he takes them to this beautiful rose quartz cave. You guys can't stop thinking about the eggs, but you have to move
I'm
off
thinking about the centaur.
I'm thinking about the.
No, you're not. Okay, so we get to the cave where the centaur lives, and he has all this medical equipment, and he teaches Patroclus how to do some medical stuff, and then the guys are like 16 years old, and they start hanging out more. By that, I mean kissing a bunch. And they
love kissing.
Well, because they discover that his Achilles' mom can't see them in the cave because she's a goddess, so she kind of is like all-seeing, but she can't see him in the cave. So, certainly they're going to start hooking up in the cave.
But it's so creepy that his mom is such a little cuck. Like, get out of your son's bedroom.
No
matter
one is
where
a fan of Thetis. No, I'm sorry.
She sucks.
Nobody is Thetis. She is not good.
I love the conversation that they have, though, when he's like, so turns out my mom can't see us in here.
And he's like,
how do you feel about that?
He's like, I think we both know what we got to do with this information.
Yeah.
So they fuck in the cave, and the centaur is just out doing his duty, his business. He's like keeping the world a spinning. He has a lot of responsibilities. And then he comes back, and they're like, oh, does he know? Does he know? Who gives a shit if he knows?
He don't care.
And he don't care. And honestly, when when Patroclus showed up to spend the rest of his life with Achilles, I think he knew then they didn't need to kiss or nothing.
Well, when he showed up, he told him, he said, yeah, you're supposed to stay with me now. Like, I knew you were coming, and because they knew he was going to leave, and then told the dad, and then Menelaus, or whatever the guy's name is, sold Patroclus to the centaur, and Achilles was like, no. That's my boy.
And he's just like, the fate will take you one way or another. And you need to know, do you think this mortal is worth your time? And Achilles is like, yes. And he says, okay, hold on to that conviction. And Patroclus says, I'll leave if it's going to be too much trouble for you all. And Chiron says, never let go of the things you love so easily. And so they begin this life where they spend a couple years together.
They show up there at 13, and then they're there until 16, I believe.
So they spend years with this centaur, and they learn all about legends and music and fighting and hunting.
Medicine was a big one.
Medicine is a really big one because Patroclus does not want to kill anybody after his incident in his early childhood. So he does learn how to do some medicinal stuff. And for the most part, they're like playing in the river and juggling and actually getting
They're like being kids until it's basically like la 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 la, and then reality comes and shows up and is like, there's war. If you were there and swore your loyalty to protect Helen, the time is now. We're going back to the town. And Patroclus is like, I also was there, but everyone's kind of forgotten that he was ever a king's son.
Yep.
And Achilles is like, I will protect you. I will not let you fight. And then they go back, and then Thetis steals Achilles in the night to hide him because she knows the prophecy is that he will die in this war, and she doesn't want him to die, so she just takes him in the night and runs away and leaves Patroclus, and he's like,
what the fuck do I do now?
What?
So also Chiron the centaur, he said, you need to be careful for which men you say you will fight. You need to be picky about who you fight for, because they're all going to come looking for you, and they're all going to ask, and the person you say yes to is going to change your fate. And so he gets stolen by his mother and put in a ladies, almost like a little convent of dancing girls who belong to this one king, and his daughter is the leader of all of the girls, and Achilles gets dressed up like a girl, and he plays the part of a girl in order to hide from all of the people who are trying to recruit him. Meanwhile, Patroclus is back in Phthia, which is their the other king's hometown, where Achilles is from, and he's asking his dad, do you have any idea where he would be, where he's hidden out? And he says, yeah, I know where he went. Go to this area, this king, and he's hidden among the daughters. And when he gets there, he finds Achilles, and Achilles reveals himself to him as a girl, or like dances for him as a girl, and he knows right away from his hair. And there's a lot of cute moments in this book where he says, I would know you in darkness, I would know you by the sound of your feet, I would know you by the way you moved and the way you breathed, I would know you if I was deaf and blind. And it is so sweet. And immediately when he sees him, he knows that he's there, and he's so excited. And this girl who is, you know, in charge of all these other girls, she's a princess, and when she sees Achilles get so excited over Patroclus, she asks Patroclus, what are you doing here? And he says, that's my wife. And Achilles says, yeah, that's my husband, I have to go with him. And she says, that can't be your husband because you're a man. She exposes him.
And you're my husband.
And you're my husband. And she exposes him to everybody, which this part like broke my heart because it was really cute that they called each other husband and wife. And I was like, yeah, you guys are husband and wife. You're clearly married. If anyone wants to say you guys were platonic, this moment would squelch it because you own each other as spouses. But then she says, he's already married me and I'm pregnant with his child. Yeah. His mother brought him here and had us sleep together. And Achilles says, I did it because I knew my mom was going to tell you where I was at and that you could come find me. I did it all for us. And he says, your mother did no such fucking thing. Your dad is the one who told me where you were at. Yeah. So you did it for nothing. And this woman is now pregnant with his child, and she gets sent away basically to have the baby in secret.
Yeah, but before she gets sent away, she sleeps with Patroclus.
Which, thank you for not letting me forget that, because that was very wild.
I was like...
Also, if something like that happened, like if my husband Wolf, like under some magical, mysterious circumstances, fucked another bitch, I would go fuck that bitch too, because... what's his is mine. Them's are the rules of marriage. So I was really happy that Patroclus like got a part of that, because you don't just get to get cheated on and then not ever get to sleep with anybody else. They both have the same body count now. Evensies. It's evensies. Now moving along. She gets sent to live in secret, have the baby in secret, and now Achilles is to be found by Odysseus and the rest
Well, he's like still hiding because they bribe the king into keeping their secret. And then Odysseus shows up and then he's like, I know you're not a girl. I know that you're Achilles.
So he says, if you don't come join me, then you're going to live a long, happy life. You can live it with your boyfriend here, Patroclus, and you will have no reputation, no legacy. You won't be a hero. Your strength will fade. So you can either live a long, happy life or a short, glorious life. What do you pick? And he picks a short, glorious life. And it just made me so sad.
Well, his mom's like, you're going to die in no matter what in this war. Whether you fight or not, you're going to die in this war. And also, as long as Hector is alive, you will be alive. So it's like, okay, well, I'm the best fighter. No one else is killing Hector. So as long as Hector's good, then I'm alive and it's fine because I just won't fight him. So,
he thinks he found a loophole.
Logic because he's 16.
Yeah, and he thinks he found a loophole, which is that if he fights in this war and he doesn't, his mom is all-seeing and saw that Hector dies before he dies. So if he can just keep that from happening, they can be together forever, even if it's on a war camp.
It is like, you would only think that if you were 16 and
stupid,
provided this is your fate.
Yeah.
You're like, I will tempt the fates because I can control my own fate, which in Greek mythology, you definitely cannot.
No, and also, he's been told his whole life that he's the best at everything.
Yeah.
So he's got a huge ego, and his ego is going to be the downfall of him. So that kind of wraps up this middle part of the story, because Achilles does agree to go with them to fight against Troy. So all of these people end up being like the Greeks against the Trojans.
And it's supposed to be like a quick war. We're just going to go. We're going to get Helen. We're going to get out of there. Obviously. And it is not a quick war.
They load up all the boats to go fight, and a bunch of cool... I really liked all the mythological stuff that happens. So when the winds stop blowing and they have to make a sacrifice to the gods to get the winds blowing again, that was very interesting. But that's the first time we see a human sacrifice.
Yep.
And it is our... Agamemnon is the king who is starting this whole war, and he does a blood sacrifice right in front of Achilles and kind of uses Achilles as a pawn in this. And everybody despises blood sacrifices from humans. They do not want human sacrifice. So even though it appeases the gods, it sets the whole tone for this war in a very gruesome light, where you're just like, this is going to be dirty, messy business. So they get going once the winds start up again, and they have this whole long trek, and being on the boat's kind of nice, fun, whatever. But when they get to where they're going, they see the Trojans, and they start shooting arrows, and they're not quite able to get like to the boats.
They're on the boat. The wind is taking them in to the land, and they're trying to stop.
Yes.
Arrows are coming from the land.
Yes, and the arrows aren't quite reaching the boat, but then Achilles picks up a spear, and he throws a spear and hits somebody on the land. And it should be impossible for a spear to be thrown by one man as far as an arrow could be shot. And that's when we realize how much better he is than everybody fucking else. And every time he picks up a spear, he hits, and it wins.
Javelin King.
So then they're given the task of deciding, should we be diplomatic and go try to talk to them about Helen, or should we start raiding the farmlands, stealing their food, cutting off their supplies, raping and capturing their women, killing all of the men who won't join us as slaves? And they're like, yeah, that second option sounds really good. So a little irritating to me there, because again, I feel like we could have tried diplomacy first, maybe. What about you guys? Did you feel like we had to go for the raiding the villagers first? Was that our only option?
I don't think the book would have been.
I also did, like, everybody's ego is way too big for the diplomatic talks. If there were going to be diplomatic talks, it would have happened already.
Yeah.
By the time these two are getting involved.
And maybe if you have the diplomatic talk, now you're already in too close quarters, and then someone's dying. You've lost your, like, element of surprise and all of that. So they decide to do that. They raid all these farmlands, and Patroclus is starting to see Achilles in battle. He's, like, completely covered in blood. He's killing people. He says he doesn't kill anyone who's not armed, but it's just, like, scary. And Patroclus swears he will never be off-put by what Achilles has to do. And then one day they bring home a bunch of women. And this is where he starts to lose his shit. And he says, Achilles, claim that woman there as your own. So
Agamemnon is claiming all the women, and he is bad.
And he's raping them all. And
he is not good.
One girl named
Briseis,
thank you.
Yeah.
So Achilles is told by Patroclus to get Briseis and make her his own spoil of war. So, like, his war prize.
And he's like, I'm not doing that. And he's
I don't care about women.
Do it. He's like, no, you are going to do it.
So he does, and he puts her in a little tent, and he keeps her safe, and everyone thinks that he's going to the tent to, like, ravish her.
This is the part that I said, actually, this is my favorite. It's just the way that he takes her in, and then what it turns into.
Because she doesn't speak the same language, so she's scared. She thinks she's about to get raped, and the boys are like, no. See, we like each other. And then we don't want you. And then they kiss. Yeah.
She's like a little bit of a Fujoshi. She kind of doesn't mind them being in love together.
And she's like, well, I'm not getting raped. So
yeah, I'm safe. Yeah. This is great. And Patroclus and her become best friends.
Yeah.
And he ends up learning her language, teaching her some of his language, and then she brings the other girls to him for either medical help or to socialize a little bit so that they can start learning enough language in order to ask for their own needs or seek help, whatever. And that is very beautiful. This is a found family trope that we didn't mention at the beginning, but there's definitely found family here because the war rages on for 10 years. And everyone thought it'd be a lot shorter than that, but it's not. Yeah. So people are making actual pretty much like permanent fixtures and marrying women and having babies with them, and they're playing around the campfire, and the settlement of invaders is starting to, like, I don't know, settle in. And when this girl falls for Patroclus, you know that it's doomed, but she doesn't ask for anything from him that he can't give her back. She just wants to be there for him. She doesn't want to be sold off to anyone else. She does at one point ask him if he would ever want children, and it's clear to you that she was offering to have his children.
Well, isn't she like, we can get married?
Yes.
Yeah, she's like, you can't marry Achilles. Like, you guys cannot get married, but you can marry me.
And I'll let you
And you guys can still
him.
Be together.
Yes.
And Achilles is like, fuck no, I will never share him. He's mine.
And Patroclus is also like, I don't really want you like that.
Yeah, but he considers it. And then Achilles is like, absolutely not. And he's like, yeah, you're right. No.
And he asks Achilles, he says, Achilles, haven't you ever wanted a child? And Achilles says, I have a child. remember I knocked up that bitch a couple of years ago.
And he's like,
kind of douchey. He's a deadbeat. And he's like, he totally is a deadbeat. And he says, yeah, his name's Paris, and I don't need to know anything about him.
Well, his mom just claimed, she was like, you're not going to have anything to do with this child. I got this. Like, Thetis again.
Yeah.
Thetis being Thetis.
Yeah.
Thetis makes sure that not the mother of this child doesn't even have anything to do with it. She gives the child to the gods to raise as a warrior.
She just takes the child to raise herself as a warrior. Yeah.
And so...
And spoiler alert, monster.
He's evil. And that's one lesson of this story, which is that morality and being immoral comes with a lot of weak spots and weak points, but being completely detached from your humanity is a weak spot all on its own, and maybe a much bigger one.
Yeah.
Not knowing how to love and not knowing how to care for people.
Yeah, humanity is weakness and it is also strength. That is like the moral of the story.
That was right, girl. That was perfect. So we have those three kind of grouping up and becoming friends, Patroclus, Briseis, and Achilles. And they are sticking together, and everything is fine until one day Agamemnon gets really irritated and pissed and the
priest's daughter.
Yes.
He comes and he's like, I'm willing to barter. Here's all of these things. I want my daughter back. Agamemnon says, I don't give a fuck about anything that you do. Goodbye. I'm going to rape your daughter. And the priest is like, okay, well, I'll curse you.
And he curses him.
And he sure does.
And
first the plague hits all the animals, then it moves on to the humans.
And there's nothing that anyone can do, but the one priest in the camp comes with Achilles to talk to Agamemnon in front of everybody. And he says, if you just return the daughter, the plague will stop. Say sorry, return the daughter, the plague is over. And he says, abso-fucking-lutely not. I will never,
she is mine.
Mar my own honor and my pride by going back on something I've done. And so Achilles says, you have to do this. Everyone will die. We won't have any army to fight with. And he gets so pissed at Achilles that he says, sure, I'll send the girl back, but I'm taking Briseis. I'm taking your girl. And Achilles is like, no, that's my war prize. If you take my war prize, what you promised me when I joined your army, these prizes of the riches and fame, if you take one of those from me, we have a fucking problem. And he does take her.
And he's basically, but in Achilles' mind, he's thinking, I'm going to set you up to really publicly wrong me, so you will finally get ousted because you're the fucking worst.
Yes.
And you're a bad leader, and we're losing this war, and you're making us gonna lose it more, and this is gonna be the final straw that breaks the camel's back. But Patroclus is like, we cannot sacrifice her. Yep. It's not worth it.
And Achilles says, I don't give a fuck. This is what I'm doing. This is my strategy. So he goes over to his little hilltop where they have their tent, and Patroclus begs him. He says, if you do this, I have to go warn her to run, to hide. And he says, nope, there's nothing that can be done. He has to take her, rape her, and when everyone sees that he has dishonored her in that way, then they'll be on my side. What does Patroclus do? He betrays him.
Yeah.
He runs to the camp.
To save her.
He runs to the camp of Agamemnon, and where she's now being held hostage, and he cuts open his own wrists in front of Agamemnon and says, this is a blood oath to you. If you keep this woman safe, Achilles cannot overthrow you. And he says, why would you betray your best friend? And he says, because I want to protect this woman. I love her, and she's a part of me now as well. So he doesn't hurt her. He treats her pretty well. And Patroclus goes back to Achilles and tells him that he betrayed him. And Achilles is refusing to fight now in any of the battles, and he says, I would rather let all of the Greeks die and lose this entire war and go back home with you, Patroclus, just us two, everyone else dead around our feet, if he does not apologize to me. So this is where the pride of man comes in, and that's the greatest lesson of all, is that pride is worth nothing, and it's surely not worth thousands of men's lives.
Yeah, and it's kind of like this scene with Odysseus being like, okay, you can live a long life, whatever, or you can come, and he's like poking at his ego. It's kind of like foreshadowing for how his ego is going to like make problems in the future.
And he comes back and he says, if Odysseus...
And be such a huge part of the war. Yeah. It's like a main pillar of the war. Is everybody's ego.
And when Achilles is fighting, everybody's dying. Achilles can win this war almost single-handedly, but he will let them lose just based off this pride. So when it's this close to breaking down the walls and having the Trojans like burn their boats, Odysseus goes back to him and says, can you please come back to fight? We promise you all of these things. Briseis, we'll give you the girl back. We'll give you money, riches, wealth, whatever. And just like remember the story. This guy phonics, he says, remember the story that your dad told you when you were young about how if you wait too long to save everybody, there's a story about Cleopatra coming and telling her lover, you have to go back to battle because so many people have died now that if you don't go back now, everyone will remember you as the person who didn't save them and waited until it was too late.
There will be no one to remember you because they will all be dead.
They'll all be dead.
But he went back and now he's remembered as a person who, yeah, you showed up, but you showed up too little, too late.
Yep. And he says that will happen to you, Achilles, if you don't get out there and fight. And it's funny because Patroclus realizes that Cleopatra's name is the same letters as his name rearranged. And he knows that that's his duty now, is to beg Achilles to go back to battle.
Yeah, because like days and days are going by. The Trojans have like are attacking the camp now.
Yeah.
And it's like they're all dying.
After 10 years, this is all for nothing.
Yeah.
And what Patroclus ends up being able to convince Achilles of is not to fight because he's still too stubborn to fight. But he says, I want you to be remembered. He's allowed the man of his dreams to be this hero all so that he can have a legacy and be famous for, you know, thousands of years to come and be remembered by everyone as a hero. And he doesn't want that reputation to die based on his pride. So he says, Achilles, let me save you from your own pride. Put me in your armor. Send me out into the battlefield. They'll be so scared that you're out there, they'll run away. And I promise I'll be safe. I won't give it up that I'm not you. Like, I won't do anything sketchy where they realize, oh, that's not how Achilles runs. And he says, yeah, that's a great idea. And here's another moment where I fucking hate Achilles. Fucking hate him. What do you mean you're going to send your wobbly ass little nurse practitioner boyfriend out into the field who is never, every time he's fought in battle, he literally just stands in a circle and tries to help people who are dying.
Yeah, but he's on a chariot and he's not supposed to do anything.
Even so.
I mean, it's a bad plan, but
an arrow could have hit him at any time. An arrow could have hit his horse and they could have toppled at any time. He sacrificed his man.
Achilles has his like right hand man to protect him, but he dies immediately.
Yeah. So he's also
Patroclus, like, he puts himself in danger because he starts feeling the high of like, I'm inspiring people. Here we are. So it's on both of them. But also, did we not all know this was going to happen?
No, I didn't.
Really? Are you serious?
Nope.
I knew that Achilles was going to die because Patroclus went into battle and died in battle, and then that's why Achilles goes to kill Hector. Because he doesn't care anymore because his love is already dead.
I thought that...
You didn't think that's how this book was going to end?
No. At this point, I had forgotten...
I'm shocked!
Anything I learned. Crazy. I forgot anything I learned from, like, the tales in Greek history.
I also was not listening to Thetis.
No. Thetis can fuck herself. Well, she doesn't say when Patroclus dies, so I thought Achilles was going to die first, Patroclus was going to kill himself afterwards, and then Wolfgang, my husband, at some point was like, no, Achilles dies, he gets like shot through the ankles with an arrow, and then Patroclus ends up marrying a woman. And I was like, so he does marry Briseis. No, I got gaslit so bad. And so at this point I'm like, go get him, Patroclus, because he's on his carriage and he's picking up spears and throwing, and he's actually kicking ass, and this armor that he's wearing must be imbued with some magic. And once he accidentally kills the king of
the number 2 to Hector in battle valor.
Yeah, once he kills him, he really gets going and has this rush, and he gets so close to the walls of Troy, he climbs up them, and when he climbs to the top, the god Apollo is there and throws him back down, which I thought was so cool. Every time the gods show up, I thought it was sick.
It was like the war was going on so long that the gods started picking sides and getting involved because they were like, we've had enough. This needs to end. Yeah.
And also they probably are all making bets on it. So, you know, like Apollo probably has his money on the Trojans. And so he throws, again, Patroclus climbs the wall, and on the second time he throws him off the wall, all of his armor comes off. And that's when everyone notices it's not Achilles, and Hector comes over to him, and this was brutal, the way he died. He says he stuck his spear in his heart and then turned it like a stew or something, and I was like,
in his stomach, I think.
Yeah, because he shoots him first. He gets shot with an arrow, then he gets stabbed with a spear, and then because he has yet to have any proper grave, the story continues in his perspective, which don't you think that was
so crazy?
So I was ready for it to switch to Achilles.
I totally thought it was
when
switch.
it didn't, I was like, oh, we're still in Greek mythology of like, until you've been put to rest, you're there.
You're wandering.
Yeah, you're wandering the earth. Yeah.
So Patroclus continues to tell the story as he sees it, and the story as he sees it is his body being brought back to Achilles. Achilles weeps and puts him in his bed, and he is beside himself in grief. Yeah. And until his body... Well,
and Briseis is also like grieving, and she tries to clean him up, and Achilles is like so mean to her. That like broke my heart. Because I was like, no, she loves him too, and they were best friends, and he loved her. Yeah. Like and Achilles didn't ever really care for her that much, but it made me sad because I was like, oh, they're just all grieving.
It was very sad. But also, there's at the end of this one, or in something I was reading about, Achilles takes on all of the roles of a woman during this funeral, which include like preparing the corpse and doing the collecting the ashes and the bones afterwards. So very much so, I think he saw Briseis as his rival, and like, there's the wife does this and I am his wife, and you're not going to take any of that from me. And she is just trying to be helpful because he's not doing it right. Yeah. He's not cleaning the body right.
And also he's not doing anything. Yeah. He's like, I'm not putting him to rest. He's not dead. I refuse to accept this. I'm keeping his body next to me because he is mine. He's not preparing him
he's not.
To be buried.
He's doing it
and
wrong.
She's like, he deserves to not be bloody and dirty and look like this.
And his soul is wandering the world. As you're sleeping with a decomposing corpse, his soul is wandering the world, and somebody has to give him a headstone and a proper burial, or he will never go to the underworld. He literally almost misses his chance to go to the underworld because Achilles is so stubborn and selfish and won't just let Briseis bury him. And he says, when I die, I want my ashes to be mixed with Patroclus, and I want us to be buried in one burial mound with our names on the same headstone. That way we can both be in the underworld together. And they still could have been in the underworld together if he had gotten a separate grave. And they really, Achilles is this close to
but this seems like something
forever.
I know, but this feels like something you would do.
Oh, absolutely. But I would make sure that I had like 12 people. You would be first, and then like, Amber, Cassie, Jennifer, like everybody would know. So if one person died or wasn't allowed, someone
dig up my ashes when the other one dies and then mix them together. Like, let me go to the underworld.
No, I would like to wander the earth until Wolf dies. And
that's what I'm saying.
No, for sure. But I'm saying that in my situation, nobody would stop us from finally getting our tombstone. So I'm not worried about it. Oh, no. But Achilles knows that they're in this culture with these people around.
Well, basically, everybody will except his bitch mom.
And his bitch ass brother.
Yeah.
And so
well, no, that's his son.
Oh my God, his stupid fucking son.
And he doesn't know him. He doesn't even know he's going to be a part of this.
It's mostly just the bitch ass mother.
Yeah.
But it does feel like all these people who've been fighting with him for 10 years, including Odysseus, they tried but still didn't get their way, honor his wishes.
He knew, like, he had faith that those people would have his back, which they did. But his bitch-ass son, he didn't know or have a relationship with.
Ruined it all.
Ruined it.
Even if that was my bitch-ass son, you would kill him before you didn't let my dying wishes be
but
obeyed.
in this scenario, I'm dead first.
Oh my God, I know.
I'm Patroclus.
Which is so upsetting. Okay, so also there's another person who would have seen through all of these wishes, which is Briseis. So when Achilles goes to get his revenge on Hector, he kills him, he fights a river god before he gets to him, he kills him, and then he ties him to the back of the chariot, and he drags his body around for
days and days.
Desecrates.
It's pretty rough.
It is disgusting and mean and awful. And then his daddy comes and is like, "Can I have Hector's body back?"
And he's like, "No."
Yeah, he's really rude about it. And then he's like, "Honestly, sure."
Actually, yeah.
And I think I'm done with it.
And the king from Troy, who's Hector's dad, he says, "You don't have to give me his body back, but it is our job as the living to give our loved ones peace. And if you don't want that for your loved one, that's your choice. But please let me have Hector." And it finally comes through to Achilles that he is not loving Patroclus the way he should, which would be giving him an accurate burial. So he gives back the body of Hector. He decides to take Patroclus up and burn him in a pyre. He collects his ashes in a beautiful urn. He tells everyone he wants to be mixed with them when he dies.
And then bury us together.
And he's on like a hunger strike. He won't eat anything, but he does go out and fight a few more times. And he kills anybody who happens to go up against him, even when he thinks they might be the one to give him sweet relief of death.
He's basically like, I'm going to keep fighting, but I
hope someone kills me.
I'm ready to die.
And nobody does until one day Apollo is up on the perch with Paris and he says, shoot the arrow, it will find him. And he shoots the arrow, it finds Achilles. Achilles finally gets death, which he never wanted to live this long after Patroclus either. And they take his body, they burn it, and then his son Pyrrhus comes along. And he is like, okay, I'm here to take my daddy's place. I have red hair and I'm evil. And he is awful. And the sea witch mother comes and she's like, oh, this is my favorite child, my grandson. And I basically helped conceive him, which is super creepy. Super fucked. That's like mommy's boy to the umpteenth level. So
that's gross.
So he comes and he finishes off everybody. He is maybe an even better warrior than Achilles, except for he's so ruthless. He will kill babies. He will rape women. And he tries to take Briseis. And instead of being raped by him, she breaks free and
she's like, fuck no, I'm swimming away. And
she does get a cut on him, which was badass.
And we get this perspective because he hasn't been laid to rest yet. He's like, oh, she is the best swimmer of anybody here. Like, she could get away. And, he has that hope. It's like, she could get away. She's going to get away. And then, of course, he's just like Achilles. He fucking throws a spear like a god and hits her, and she goes under and never comes back.
But they never find her body. Nope. So I hope that she got, taken in by some mermaids or something, and maybe they did some healing magic on her because they don't find her body. But she's dead, which means all hope for Patroclus and Achilles getting buried together is almost dead. So we have Odysseus, who didn't even really like Achilles, going to beg his son, hey, your dad always wanted to be buried with his friend. And they were more than friends, believe you me. Let him be buried together. And he says, no, a slave could never be buried with my father. And no matter how much everyone begs, he won't let it happen. And they move on. And they basically get on their boats to go back. And that's the beginning of the Odyssey. So that's why I thought maybe we would get another book. And it would be the Odyssey because we've got Odysseus back on the boats. Pyrrhus, we do learn he gets killed rather shortly after this, which thank God someone snuffed him out because he sucked. And now we just have Achilles buried on this mountain with his tombstone, and then Patroclus sitting on his tombstone as a spirit, pissed off, and his mommy keeps trying to visit Achilles, and instead,
because they do mix his ashes and bury them together, but they don't put his name on the headstone, so he can't be laid to rest.
He can't go to the underworld, so he's just sitting there. And I love this, that the mom just every time she wants to see her son, she has to see this guy she hates, and he's like, hey, you know what you got to do to get me to go away?
Yeah, please, could you please?
And she's like, well, I can't see my son in the underworld ever. I'm immortal and he's mortal, so I'll never see him again. And Patroclus says, I'll tell you all of the stories so that he's remembered as something more than just a murderer and somebody who flaked out in the 9th year of a war and let everybody die. Let me tell you about how he played the lyre and how he juggled and how he swam and all these beautiful good things about him. And it was so sweet. And then after he is that nice to his mother-in-law, she finally gives in and carves Patroclus's name on the headstone. And then the very last imagery of the entire novel is them reaching out to each other in the darkness and finding each other. Just so the goosebumps.
Goosey.
And I will mention that in the Odyssey, you do see these two, and I never paid attention to them, but Patroclus and Achilles are in the Odyssey together. They're hanging out in the underworld. So they do get their happily ever after in that way.
I love her fanfic.
At the end.
She's like, I ship these two, so are they canon in mythology to be together? I kind of don't think so, but I do like that she was like, they should be together. They probably both mentioned as side characters once, and she was like, they're going to be in love, and I'm going to write a book about it.
Yeah, and also she said her brother, she's like, in her notes, she's like, thank you to my brother for putting up with my stories about these two for 10 years. And I'm like, look at all these people I ship. I'm just like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
My screensaver that we're looking at right now is two people who are canonically not together, Gojo and Gato. They are together, and I will talk about it for a decade. Maybe one day write a good book about it. But I absolutely love this. This was right up my alley. It was like the BL, MM romance, the yearning, yearning, the forbidden love, the found family. Every trope in here made me so happy, even though I would say it's a 99% plot, 1% smut, which is not usually what I'm looking for.
I wouldn't say there's
There's not any smut.
They jerk each other off.
Yeah, but it doesn't really talk about it.
No.
It's not smutty.
It's romance. It's not.
You know that it's not, but they don't really go into detail.
Yeah.
There's some words about ejaculation, but
Point
it is
one-
0.1.
point
Right.
1%,
It's like
okay?
99.9% plot.
I will give you the 0.1%.
0.1% smut, which is just this like initial jerk off in the crystal cave, which cute, but I could have had more of it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of alluding to and like sexy talk between them, but they are always in a tent surrounded by other soldiers. But if we learn anything from Akhtar, it's that you can definitely get it on in the heat of war.
Well, you be fucking in war because you're alive still.
fucking in war.
And everyone's dying, and it's like, what is there to live for except fucking a hot boyfriend?
Yeah, so I would have taken more of those scenes. I will be straight up about that.
Yeah.
And even so, I would rate this book 5 stars. What's your rating?
I rated this book 3 stars. I liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it. But I think it's because I found it very predictable.
Yeah, because you know the story.
No, because I just was like, obviously that's what's gonna happen. I don't know, I just read a lot. I was like, that's obviously what's gonna happen. I don't remember shit from Greek mythology. I didn't remember a single person or their story from this, which I did. That was like the thing I liked about it is like, this is a fun, I think, more digestible form of Greek mythology, because straight up reading Homer is hard.
Yeah.
The writing is like very
dense.
Yeah, and it's so old. It's like you really have to think really hard. So this is like a more enjoyable version of that for sure, which I liked. And I thought it was a good story. I just think here's the thing. I think that for me, this book has been overhyped on booktok. Everyone's like, this book's amazing. It's so devastating. You're gonna bawl your eyes out. It's so sad. You're never gonna, it's like, this book will hurt you and it will stay with you forever. And I'm just like, I knew what was gonna happen, so I didn't find it that devastating. I thought it was good. And I thought it was well written. But to me, I feel like the internet made it so hyped that I was like, that was it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it.
You know what I mean? Like, I do think it's good. And I liked it. And I do think that, like, there's a lot of language that she uses that's really beautifully written. But I just think it was so overhyped on my personal, internet that I was like, that's what everyone was like freaking out about. I mean,
I shed like one tear during this, and that's it. And it was when he gets stabbed by Hector, and then Achilles like gets his body. But I wasn't sobbing, and I do think that booktok like really hyped it up. Like, this is going to be devastating.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't know that Patroclus died before Achilles. That was a big surprise for me. Also, I never heard of Patroclus in my entire fucking life. So, like, even when they were, like, when I'd hear booktok things about it, I, like, didn't really know how to place that person or if he was, like, a commander or what he was. So it was pretty spoiler-free for me.
I hadn't heard anything about the actual book except that it was so beautiful and so devastating. I didn't know what this was about at all. And I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, but I just saw it. I was like, obviously, after he has the vision of Achilles killing Hector and he doesn't look scared or like anything, I knew Patroclus was going to already be dead by the time he did that.
I thought that maybe at that part when he had that vision, I was like, maybe that's when Patroclus is like already with Briseis and like he is kind of turned his back on Achilles.
See, I didn't think they were ever going to be together.
I definitely had that feeling. So there's a bunch of things.
Your husband really got you.
He gaslit the fuck out of me.
Is that really what happens in mythology though? Did you Google it?
No, I don't think that happens at all in mythology.
It does sound like something maybe Wolfgang would just make up and tell you it's true.
He loves to gaslight me. So it wasn't that predictable for me, but I can totally see where you're coming from. Because if I look at it that way, I'm like, oh yeah, had I been in a different mindset, I probably would have seen this all coming. I, on the other hand, was like on a train in Ireland.
I also feel like you were in the right setting for this to like
a good setting. Because,
like, if I read this when we went to Greece, I might have a different opinion.
Yes, just looking at the ocean. So like I'm in a train, like looking at the countryside, looking at the ocean, looking at the rain,
like in the ruins of castles and shit.
Yes.
Like,
and it was super moody, super broody. It was very, very fun for me. So I think we had totally different experiences. Also, just because I was not predicting any of it, I was really letting it come to me. Which a lot of times in books, you know, I go for spoilers. I look them up online.
She's the spoiler queen.
I look them up on TikTok.
Not look them up, but I just saw that one.
Yeah.
But
I saved this one to make sure that I got an experience because I so easily can ruin a book like this for myself. Yeah. And Brookie, what would you rate it?
I would go 2. I can tell, like I said earlier, I can tell that it is beautifully written, and I can appreciate that. It was predictable. I agree with Phoebe on that. The thing for me, it feels so dumb to say, but like, so the reason I struggle with fantasy is the world building. I have a hard time. If I can get through that, I'm all about fantasy, but I have to like get through the world building. I didn't feel like there was that much world building here. I'm going to sound so stupid, but the names alone make it so hard for me to keep up with it. And I don't know who anybody is.
Yeah.
Because I can't.
Because they're all a little the same.
Yeah. But then they're also all so random and different. And like, who's
that? You need a character list the whole time. Yeah.
And they also have because Achilles has a different name, which is like Pelides, and then there's several people.
I don't think you sound dumb. I think
that's totally true. That's reasonable.
True and valid.
And so then even though the plot is good and the story is good, I'm like, who is what?
You're like the plot's like,
I don't know who we're talking about, and I think that makes it really hard for me to retain anything.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I finished it today, and some of the things that you guys were saying, I was like.
Wasn't paying attention to that.
What?
Yeah. So one thing was also Helen. I had to go back and research why Helen got kidnapped.
I'm like, isn't she Helen of Troy? Like in my brain, and then I was like, but she's Greek. So she's Helen of. So this part was very confusing to me, and it had to do with names and stuff because I didn't remember who she married. And it's like, okay, so she married Menelaus, and then she was stolen.
Paris stole her, but did he steal her? Or did she go with him willingly?
Yeah,
and that part's not fleshed out at all. And
no, and in history, it's not. They're like. Did she get kidnapped, or did she leave?
Or did she run away?
Or did she get kidnapped but then fall in love with her captor and didn't want to be rescued?
And she does get rescued and given back to her husband. So I'm just like, Helen, you chose your husband. Why did you stay with him? Yeah, like
this one's Brad. This one's Jason. This one, Troy.
No, I wanted to love it so bad, and I can appreciate the beautiful writing. I agree with that, and I think that the story is beautiful. My little tiny ADHD squirrel brain could not keep up.
I totally understand that. I think it makes a lot of sense that I liked it as much as I did because in full fantasy, there's way too much world building, and this had just sprinkles. So I really like magic realism, and this is like mythology, but I would say it's like that. It's all real. It's realistic.
Yeah.
And then there's
it's
just
also
real
magic.
It's real
place.
Well, and that's why for me the world building wasn't an issue, like which I was worried about.
Yeah. No, there's no world building because it's just in the world.
Straight up, literally just the names.
Yeah. The names are hard. And then I get that.
And then not only are the names hard, but then once we get into the battle, all of the Anatolians from Turkey come over, and then we have a whole new crew of names. That's like, oh, and now this guy is coming to fight too, and they're all on horses. And I was like, we're in the last 9 chapters introducing more battles and more what do you call them, like more squadrons from different parts of the world. So all of that got a little confusing.
Scenario because of the way that the names affected my brain, or didn't affect my brain, didn't penetrate my brain at all. I think it's like the audiobook was almost harder because like then I'm just hearing them and they all sound the same. And then I would try to read it on my Kindle. And like I said, you can click on the Kindle, like it'll have like little links and you click it and then it gives you those photos that are in the back. But then I'm like, I can't read an entire book and have to click on every single time. Yeah. And even if I do, there comes a point where there's so many characters that like, yeah, I can read this description, but it's not going to fucking help me keep up with the book.
And I would say like the thing about this is that sometimes because it's straight up like historical fiction.
Yeah.
And so because there's like the actual true or whatever stories from the battles woven in just to make the storyline fit into a certain place, sometimes it's actually not important to the storyline at all.
Yes.
But it's important to the timeline of where things are happening. Yeah. So it's like did that matter? Was it important? No. You don't actually have to remember it.
Right.
But then you're like, but if they mentioned it, then it must be, Yeah. So I feel like that happened a couple times in this where it's like, disregard. That didn't matter. Almost, that person showing up is just like a little like Easter eggy, like this is a thing that happened in history kind of thing.
Yeah. Which is kind of what made me think maybe she's going to write the Odyssey and do that with these characters because we got so many side characters that were only mentioned once or twice. So like Pyrrhus. Oh no, that's the son. Pyrrhus, but Priam, that's the dad of Hector. And then there is the sassy friend of Odysseus whose name is is it Diomedes?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just like a bunch of sassy side characters who I'm like, if it's not important, can we just say that it's Hector's dad? Can we just say that can we just say it's Achilles' dad? I'm not going to remember what Achilles' dad's name is. It's like,
so like I get why she did it.
Yeah.
But then it's like, if it's already a thing that is like confusing, which it is sometimes, it's like, that's actually, you have to like filter it out a little bit to be like, that's not actually important to the context of the storyline. It's just important to the context of the timeline and like what's happening for like the overall mythology.
And if it was written for somebody who's a total like Greek nerd, then they'd be so happy and know who all these people are. But I'm not a Greek nerd.
And the thing is she's a Greek nerd. That's why they're all in there.
She's not getting anything mixed up.
Yeah. So my low rating has absolutely nothing to do with the author or the story. It is all just my tiny bird brain.
Yeah. Well, it's also just like, if that ruined the pacing for you or anything, having so many side characters, that is totally valid for writing like that.
Yeah.
So my favorite part of this is our delusional boyfriends. Princess, who is your delusional boyfriend?
I'm going to go with Briseis.
I was going to go with Briseis. Okay, who's yours?
I definitely thought about that. I'm going Chiron if we could figure out a way to make the sex work. I would. Yeah, for sure.
I was torn between Chiron and Briseis. I was like, she is a badass.
Yeah,
she gets
she's bad. I just really like her. She's like, okay, I'm going to be raped and pillaged. Awesome. And they're going to keep me as a sex slave. And then they're like, no. And then she's like, learns the language, is so helpful. Like, and she's like such a good friend. I
he describes her as beautiful, and she can sing, and she makes jokes. He's like, even when she's miming things, I mean, she's really funny, and I like all of that. And then
I love it.
Chiron, big, strong, beautiful, immortal, older than everybody.
And also, I just love how he talks about like. He just his attitude about life too, and he's like, nobody's life is worth less than anybody else's is like his main thing, and I love that because he's teaching them to be warriors, but he's also like, just so we're clear, we're not just killing people for fun.
Yeah, like, and like you respect the entire process of being in war, because it's not nothing. It's not just a throwaway thing. You're taking someone's life, someone's loved one, someone that's also lived this life and had love like you. Yeah, it's good.
He is a very wholesome man. He's supposed to be the only centaur that is not like a barbarian. And it seems like he's just even kill all the way. And he gives these guys their only real taste of childhood and joy and freedom. And that feels like real daddy energy to me, where I'm just like, you would keep me safe in that little crystal cave and I wouldn't have to worry about shit. You'd make all my dinners and we could swim the river together. It was a really close call for me.
Okay, so who are you going to pick?
I picked Briseis.
Oh, you did?
Yes, okay. She's just like, I don't know. She is so wifey material. She's Fujoshi material. She would let me have a third. I like her a lot. She's very open-minded. Yeah, so definitely her. Okay, well, with that wrapping up, our book for next month as far as romance novels go,
it's The Compound.
The Compound, which is Brookie's choice, right?
I'm excited.
Okay, I'm super excited.
And this was my pick for my other book club, so I only had one book to read for book club.
The description of it is if like Love Island, the reality TV show, and Lord of the Flies had a baby. Yeah.
Okay, I'm so excited. There's going to be trouble in paradise.
Yeah.
Yay. If you guys like our episodes, make sure and go listen to the backlog episodes. Phoebe did a whole year of Why Choose With Me in 2025. Brookie's been on every romance episode from 2026, and she's going to be on all the rest of them in 2026. We alternate who gets to pick the book. So let us know who your delusional boyfriend from this one was, and rate, review, and subscribe if you can. If you're not watching on YouTube, please go subscribe to us on YouTube. That helps a ton. And make sure that you leave us a little review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen. And until next time, remember, sometimes the delusion
is the solution.
I forgot.
Bye.
I forgot what we were supposed to say.